Yeah, I just want please raise your hands, guys, everybody, because this is critical update even from Kubernetes, or we have to get this fixed. Okay, 2 people, only 2. Rest of the guys are able to install Kubernetes. Confirm. How about Roshni, Samir, Sanjay? Okay, nice. So the people who have the trouble, it's not the fault with your machine. The thing is that we do regular update. That's the only difference. So those who keep the machine regularly with an update, Windows update, they are having this concern. So to fix the problem, you guys have to do this. So please take the screenshot of what you guys have to do. Okay. Just write the steps only, guys. I'll open up the sites and show you how to do it. So this is for the people who have the trouble. Even I had trouble, I fixed it. So the concern is with the update, Windows updates. Okay. So basically, you have to work with your Docker as of now, because there is an open bug on this from the even Kubernetes itself. So they are working on the fix. So we don't have solution with it as of now. So step number 1 is you have to install the Docker desktop on your computer. Step 1. Okay. So step 1 is please install the Docker desktop. So if you go on to the internet, let me get that page to you. So this is a page. This is only for the people who have the trouble, guys, because maybe you guys also, maybe in future, maybe 10 or 15 days, the people who are already installed may have trouble with Kubernetes, because if updates ran on your computer, you'll have the same problem. So please make a note of these steps. So step 1 is go ahead and go to the Docker site and officially download the Docker desktop for your Windows. Okay, this one. And click on this and download and install it. I repeat, you need to download and install it. That is a step 1. So after you install, okay, step 2 is you need to open up this link now. This link. So once you open up this link, you need to go to the step number 4, because we are using normal Windows 10 computers, right? So we use this kind of machines, 64. So that's the reason once you reach to this page, make sure that you download this. You directly go to the step number 4 and download this and install. That is what you need to do. Download this and install, guys. Okay, there is a Linux kernel update which will work on the Windows actually. So that is what you have to do. That small kind of patch you need to install. So once that is done, then restart your computer. So after these 2 activities, restart your computer. So till this activity, please do not open the Docker desktop, guys. So install this, restart the computer. Then step number 3 is open up the Docker desktop. You need to open up. The reason is Docker desktop, once you open, it will take its own time to start up. So almost it will take 1 or 2 minutes of time. I already tested this. That's the reason it opened quickly. But for you guys, it will almost take a 2 to 3 minutes of time to start up this application to open up. It looks like it is freezing, but after 2 or 3 minutes, you will get the screen. Okay. So estimate is almost, it may take 2 to 3 minutes of time. So after that, then open up your Git bash as usual now. Open the Git bash and fire this command. So this command, what happens is we are going to practice the same Kubernetes Minikube using the Docker, not the Oracle VM box because of some bug in the Kubernetes at this point. Okay. So we are going to use Minikube upon the Docker directly. Okay. So that is what we are going to do. So you need to fire this command, guys. Minikube start -- driver is equal to Docker. Okay. So once you start this, so it goes through its process, it does its stuff, and almost after what you can say 5 or 10 minutes, you will see that in the Docker desktop that you opened up, you will see Minikube coming up. Clear? Clear with the steps, first of all. And I recommend others also to keep an eye on this. The reason is if the same update runs on your computer, it will be a trouble. Got it? Yeah. So that is a reason. Okay. So once you see that Minikube has come up here, then our duty is, what is our duty, guys? So what is our duty is to make sure that this is up and running here. Then we can proceed. Got it? So now let's open up the Git bash and everything will be normal. So since there, I'll do one thing. I'll copy paste this into your notes so that you guys will be aware. At the end of the class, remind me, guys. Okay, so let me apply the fix. Okay, so now, yeah, let me switch off this because in case I keep on calling. Okay. Now let's proceed. So from Minikube, we need to do okay. So from here we need to start. Okay, my command is Minikube version. So once you see that the machine is up here, then you can safely keep it minimized and start interacting entirely from here. You can say Minikube version. You see, it is showing the Minikube version. The next command is kubectl version. CTL version. So this, okay, fine. That's okay. You're getting something, but that's fine. So it is, we are not using that kind of, right? So kubectl, whatever the version it is showing, let's use a short. It is telling that it is depreciated, will be removed in the future. That's okay. So kubectl client version is so and so, and your server version is so and so. The customized version means your server version is. The next, this command will try it at the last before we end it. Okay. The next command is how do you get the node information from the cluster? So the command is kubectl get nodes. How many nodes are there? You'll know it. So kubectl get nodes. No connection because target machine is actively refused it. Why? So why it is? Oh, first of all, this is off. Oh, so let's start it, guys. So you'll see here buttons. This is a stop or this is start. I just started it. Then let me come back here. Let me hold on. Minikube. Let me restart once again. Okay. Minikube start. So just give us 2 minutes. It will officially start. Okay. So we'll say now. Yeah, you can see it's working now because we have officially stopped it and restarted it properly. So Minikube get nodes. It is showing that one Minikube is ready, and this is a control plane that is nothing but server. So keep in mind, Minikube is like an instance of your Kubernetes, which contains a cluster, which can behave as a client and which can behave as a server also. Got it? So that's the wonder of your Minikube, so that you can experience the Kubernetes. And the version is so and so. It is up since 70 minutes. Then next command. Now Kubernetes, if you want to know the cluster information, this is a command, guys. This is a command of your cluster. Okay. So it is telling you that the control plane is available at so and so, and core DNS is available at so and so. Core DNS is nothing but is your DNS, guys. DNS. So routing. Then we already saw this core components yesterday, Kubernetes. And this is interesting, which you need to know the services, whether services are running properly or not. So if you want to know, then you need to type Minikube status. So keep in mind that if you are using Minikube status, you have to type Minikube status. But if you're not, if you're using multi-node cluster, then you have to type kubectl get status is a command you need to fire, guys. So kubectl get status is a command you need to fire. And I told you the architecture yesterday, and these are server components and client components. Now let's move on to the pods, guys. Let's move on to the pods. Okay. So coming to the pods, pods is one of the important areas to understand in the Kubernetes, guys. So like Dockers, in the Dockers, we understood the containers. Like in Ansible, we understood the playbooks. Like in Kubernetes, it's all about the pods here. So pod is a single unit, or it's an instance of your deployed application. So in the Dockers, we used to say containers, correct? So containers contain your application and its dependency. But the same logic applies here. But in Kubernetes, we don't say that as a containers, we call it as a pod. But the big difference between a container and a pod is the simple logic applies. So write this. A pod itself is nothing but a container. Okay. Itself is nothing but a container. And it's an instance of deployed application. Got it? So that is what it is, guys. Now, the logic is a pod can contain one container. There are pod types are there. So a pod can contain, if a pod is containing only one container, okay, then that should be pronounced as a pod only. If a pods, there is singular format, we call it as pods. So it means that it contains multiple containers in it. So like this picture, you can see. So if you're trying to do a little comparison here, virtualization, it's all about VM, Docker is all about container, and Kubernetes, it's all about the pod, right? So keep in mind that in entire story of the Kubernetes, it's all about the pods. kubectl get pods. If you want to see how many pods are there, so there are no pods as of now. Got it? So there are no pods as of now, guys. Reason why there are no pods? Because we haven't started creating any pod at all. So that is the reason. Now, pods are pods, it gives the same output. So it is only a singular format. And this is a plural format and this is a singular format, guys. So only distinction is if somebody says pod, you need to imagine it is a one pod. Okay, one container in it. And if somebody says pods, you need to assume that in that pod, there are multiple containers. Okay, in each container, an application will be available. So now the big difference is like, so if you have multiple pods, take down this diagram. So let's assume if this is your single pod, definitely you'll have an application. That's it. That's it. Okay, this is single pod, not a big deal here. But the story starts more complex with multiple pods. So let's say this is your one box of an application. And they said that it is a pods. That means you'll have a lot of pods here. In this, lot of containers will be there. Okay. So I am calling this as pods now, PODS. Now the question comes is, which will be the main application where it will be facing the client? So it depends on the configuration. So in this, there may be some application, here also some application, here also some application, here also some application, here also some application. But I'll call this guy another guy in red color. So this is a main application. So let's take it. I'll mark it as, let's say, this one. Okay. So this is a main pod which may be facing the client. And the rest of all the pods that you see here, they are called as helper containers, guys. Write these words. These are called helper containers. So they collaborate each other. Maybe the API calling from here to here, from here to here, from here to here, or from here to here, or maybe relation. Got it? So that is what happens here. Clear? Okay. Yep. Now take down this diagram, guys, quickly. So is it done? So keep in mind that a pod will only contain, if somebody says it's a pod, it will only contain one container. If somebody says it's a pods, it will contain multiple containers, and you will have this application hosted, and the one which faces the main client side. So one of them will face the client side, and the rest of them will be acting as helper containers to that main pod, guys. So that is a distinction between a pod and pods. Okay, good, nice. And if you want to see how many pods are there here, right? If you want to see how many pods are there in your cluster, keep in mind this is a cluster. Okay, so you need to say kubectl. I already showed you, I guess, get pods. So as of now, no pods, nothing, because we haven't created. Even if you say like this also, there is nothing. But the same command will give you both the details. Right? The next, how do you open up the Kubernetes dashboard? So Kubernetes dashboard, guys. So there is one command here. The moment you fire, it will open up the dashboard. So in a real time, guys, what happens is your administrator, whoever is managing the clusters in your company, or admin of your Kubernetes, will share a web link. They will share the web link, guys. They will share a URL to you. So using that URL, you have to log in into your dashboard of Kubernetes. But in the Minikube, this is the way. In the Minikube, this is the way, guys. So if you type the command called Minikube dashboard, it will open up the Kubernetes dashboard here. So this is how the Kubernetes dashboard looks like. And most of the applications are admin oriented here, right? We only bother about few options here, and we need to learn few options from the DevOps perspective. So some options are relevant to the network engineer, some options are relevant to the admin, and some options are relevant to us. So don't think that we need to engineer the every option here. Every option engineering is not our duty. So only few options we check in, which is required for our stuff. And coming to the real-time perspective, as I already told you, the team will share you the URL. So using that URL, you have to log in. Now, next concept is you need to focus, or you need to know how to deploy the applications in Kubernetes, guys. So that is what you have to be aware. So I recommend you to write these steps quickly. So please write these steps quickly. Please write it and let me know once this has been done. Is it done? Now the step number 1 is to create the deployment. Step number 2 is we have to verify the deployment. And step number 3 is we have to create the ports. And step number 4 is to create the service URLs. And step number 5 is we should access the deployed application or the pod. So it is a total 5-step process. We create the deployment, verify the deployment, create the ports for your deployment, and create the service URLs and access your deployed application. So let's see the creating a pod, guys. Got it? Yeah, creating a pod. So in creating a pod, the command looks like this. The syntax of the command looks like this. We say kubectl create a deployment, And here we have to choose a deployment name and from which image you want to create the deployment. So the image will contain your application. And if you deploy it, then definitely for that deployment, we create some deployment name. So you have to choose. So in this example, I'm choosing an image called this one, which is available in the Docker Hub. And I'm choosing the application as, I'll say, sample application 31B. So I'm going ahead and copying this. And I'll open up the Git bash. And paste it here and press enter. So it says application is deployed. So now the question comes is, now go back to the dashboard and see in the deployments, you see one application is, it starts with the gray color. In the deployments earlier, we don't have anything, but once you click on the deployments, you will see it starts with gray and it takes its own time to create the application, or we can say pod, and it will turn to the green color if it is positive. I repeat, colors are there here, guys. It will turn to the green color if it is positive. It will turn to the red color if it is negative. It will turn to the orange, okay, if there is some trouble. It will be in the gray in the process. So orange is partially is working good. Okay, green is positive, red is error. So currently it has just deployed. So the moment you deploy, right, by default, make a note of this point. The moment you deploy an application, by default, it will create a pod. That's a thumb rule. By default, it will create one pod. Okay, that's a default. Can you change this default? The answer is yes. And that answer yes comes from the code only. In the code only, they will mention how many pods to be created the moment you deploy. Got it? So if you do not mention anything, then what happens is by default, it will create only one pod. And using the Kubernetes lot of features, we can scale up and scale down. We'll see that later. But remember, the moment you deploy an application, one pods get created and that pod contains your application. Okay. So now let's see the next one, what we have to do. The next thing is we have to verify the pod whether it is created or not. The command is kubectl get pod. Now let's go ahead and try kubectl get pods. See, I got one. So the pod name is so and so, very lengthy. One by one, it is running from 2 minutes. And if come to the dashboard and if you want to see whether pod created or not, then you need to go to the pods here. Left hand side, you have a pods. If you want to see the deployments, you need to go to the deployments. If you want to see the pods, you need to come to the pods. See? So this is the name I was talking about. This is the name, this is an image, and this is what we are trying to do, guys. Clear? So we deployed it. Then next thing, after pod, you see that it got deployed. Then if you want to check whether by using command also, you can check the deployment, guys. So this is a command to check the deployments also. You can say kubectl get deployment. You need to remember all the commands, guys, because I saw your seniors are facing the commands. They will ask you what is the command to get the pods, what's the command to get the deployments. So that is what. Say this is the command to get the deployments. Okay. Fine. So you can see only one deployment, right? Here you'll see only one pod. The next. Now you need to create the pods. Ports, sorry, we need to create the ports. Why? Because if an application is hosted, you need to access the application via network, via ports. So this is the command kubectl expose deployment. So what port number to be hosted? That always you need to check with your development team only, what they configured for that application. So let's say I'll copy this. So this is a command, guys. You need to just fill the application name and the port number. That's it. So come here and paste it. My application name was 31B. This is what I deployed. So port numbers are configured on the deployment. Okay. So it is done. You can see it is exposed. So once the port is created, you can access the application. So port is reserved now, we configured, right? Then if you want to create the URL for it. So Kubernetes Wonder is, so once we deploy pods ready, ports ready, the next level is your URL. So using this command, you will generate a URL, or you can say it will create an URL automatically for us. Using that URL, you have to access the application. So that is then expected thing here. So if you are using Minikube, please use this command. And if you are using real time, then you have to use this command, or I can say multi-node cluster, you have to use this. So I'll copy this command because I know that I'm using Minikube. I'll copy this and I'll put it here and say save. And I will say this is sample app 31B. Okay, so this is a link, I got it. You copy this link, guys. And copy that link. And go here and paste it. So this is an expected output. So this is an expected output of that image, guys. So don't think that there is no fancy here. So there is no fancy side. The only thing is that image what you took, the expected output is this only. Now you have to keep in mind whatever it gives here, you need to copy that link, whatever it is giving, and you need to put it there. You can see it by default, it created some dummy port 62579, right? So 127 is nothing but loopback address or local host address. So in real time, if you're using, you'll have standard IP address followed by port number. The only thing is you need to share that link to your clients or whatever your end users. So if they put the link, they'll be able to intrude into the application. So that's a deployment stuff, guys. So let me summarize once again. Okay, accessing the pod is nothing but just copying the URL link and opening up in the browser, guys. So that is what you need to do. Now, let me summarize. Step one is we create the deployment, check the deployment, also check whether pod created or not, then create the port, and then go ahead and create the service URL and then access it. So that is what we are going to do. Now, keep in mind, these are all the first of the these are all use cases from my experience because I also work on Kubernetes in my project. So first use case is we see the deployment has been done. Deployment gets succeeded, but we don't see any pod generated. So this is crazy thing. It should by default, it should create the pods, but it will not create any pods, guys. Right? It will not create any pods. So under that circumstances, the solution is the problem is in the image coding only. Okay, you need to check with the image what it has been developed. Right. The next second use case is we see the deployment done, and we also see that pod getting generated, but it crashes quickly in few fraction of minutes, guys. Maybe 4 or 5 seconds, it will 4 or 5 minutes, it will stay and crash, or 1 or 2 minutes, it will stay, it will crash. So the only point is it will keep on crashing. The understanding is the most popular reason for this is dependencies are missing. So dependencies to host it on the Kubernetes are missing, guys. So you need to check in the image coding what dependencies are missing. Then apply that fix, it will work. And the third use case is, we see the deployment is there. We also see the pod is there, and we'll not be able to access the, if you try to put the link in the site and try, it will not work. The problem is firewall. Firewall could be the problem. So you have to work with the network engineer in your project. So who manages firewall? Just ask them to unlock the firewalls, or if you have the Kubernetes network engineers, talk to them, get it done. Though you hosted on so and so port number, still it doesn't work, then you have to work with them. Firewall is a concern. Now, if it is your own computer, most probable reason is your antivirus software will be blocking, because most of the antivirus softwares, they don't like Minikube. Simple reason. Okay. Keep in mind, most of the antivirus software that we use today, they don't like Minikube. So whatever you're trying to do Minikube, it will keep on blocking it. Okay, just be checking with your antivirus softwares, or try to disable for 10-15 minutes and see how it is working. It should work. Fourth use case is, we're done with the deployment. Okay. And we see that the pod is also stable, but we are not able to access the page. Maybe service account or user ID could be the problem. It says access issues. We'll get an error that is pointing to the access problems, guys. If it is access problem, then that is a page issue. Correct? Yep. But if you see that page cannot be displayed, this is different. This is firewall problem. You see that page is there, but you're trying to enter something, it will say error, access denied. Then definitely your user ID or the service account that you're using for that application could be the problem. So these are the four major well-known use cases in the Kubernetes case. Okay, fine. So let me go ahead and paste these notes. I'll stop it here for the day, guys. Some ongoing issue is going on, so my requirement is there. I need to jump on to the another call quickly. So please try the deployment. Please fix all your, what I can say, the Kubernetes problems. And those are doing the Windows updates, definitely you will come across this situation what I faced, guys. Got it? Yeah, let me update the notes. So Mayur, are you able to see the web page now? Okay, do one thing, just as I told you, check with the firewalls, it should work. Okay, so I just updated the notes, guys. We'll stop it here for the day and we'll continue tomorrow as usual. So those who have the Kubernetes trouble, please go ahead and apply this fix as I told you. I'm also copy pasting that stuff. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Let's catch up tomorrow. See you. Bye-bye.